You're watching The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ NV, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the Guy. We are The Breakfast Club. We got some guests in the building.
Where's our magazines?
Oh, next week.
We have Vanessa Statten from XXL magazine. And what's your name?
JFK?
JFK. I didn't want to say your name wrong. I didn't know your full name. All right, JFK.
There it is.
So now, I mean, this happens
here
every
we go.
year.
Every
Here we
year
go.
you
Let's
put out
go.
this
Yeah.
freshman cover.
You guys
We
get
do.
attacked for this freshman cover.
We do.
Yep.
So the XXL freshman cover has been released. So let's talk about some of the people that's on the cover.
Okay.
All right? You start.
You start.
Okay. I have a couple of questions who's not on the cover.
Well, you start
Well, let's
positive.
start with who's
Let's
on
start
it.
positive.
Yeah. Ski Mask is some god.
Yeah, we love ski mask.
Smoke
Yeah.
Perp.
Smoke. We love everyone we're going to mention. Yeah.
Of course you do. JID. Stefan Don.
I love with the question we get, what's a JID? What's a JID? Nobody has any idea.
People will know soon.
People will
Soon
know
enough.
soon. Wait till
Yeah.
you see what he's got next week. Yeah.
I saw him posting about it, but I didn't really know who he was either.
You will.
Okay.
More. You will more than you do today.
And I do know Stefan Don.
Yeah, Stefan
Yeah.
Don, Lil Pump.
Lil Pump.
Well deserved, I think, Lil Pump.
Black Boy JB,
Black Boy JB, well deserved. Trippie Redd.
Mm-hmm.
who just got arrested.
Yes, that was not
Right
the best
after.
for us
That was
yesterday.
crazy
We were
timing.
like, what? Did this really happen today? Yeah, that was unfortunate.
What else am I missing? Okay, here's my notes now. They didn't give me notes before.
All right, go for
Wi-Fi's
it.
funeral.
Wi-Fi's funeral. Yep.
Who was up here at iHeart the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And also YB,
He was promoting his tape, his project last week. Album tape
YBN
project.
Namir.
Yeah.
All right, so let's delve into this list.
Yeah.
So first, before we go into the list, they kill you every time you come into the Breakfast Club. They say, "Who's this white lady that is giving this list?" And
JFK's like, I'm not a white lady.
Well, maybe, I don't know.
No, yeah, it's
But,
true.
and people
Yeah.
are always upset, and they say, "Well, how can you decide who's on the XXL freshman cover? Who are you to say?"
And
that
every year she says it's
these
not
are-"
just her that decides.
Yeah,
Right.
you can answer
So,
for
no,
me.
no, so explain to people, because every year we get new viewers, new listeners that want to know how you decide who's on the XXL cover.
You know what? I'm going to throw it over to JFK because this was his first year being involved in freshman. That's one of the reasons he came up.
You gonna get
so
the
this
heat
is
this
his
year.
fault.
So no, it's not his fault. But he can give you a little bit, like from we did it 10 years. This is our 11th year, so JFK is involved in the 11th one. So he can give you a little bit of an idea of what the process was, maybe even more originally than I can.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a democratic sort of process. We all huddle up and, sort of, everyone has their favorites.
So JFK's a Democrat. Yeah, okay.
and
There's
you know,
dad
everyone has
jokes
their
over
favorites.
there.
And yeah, we just battle it out. We argue, we sort of debate, and then come up with the people that we think are objectively going to be like the stars, the future stars. It's not one person's opinion. It's not who you like, who's your favorite. It's sort of like who we think is going to blow up.
So it's a panel of people. It's not just Vanessa making a decision.
No.
That's what
Never
people
just
think
Vanessa
that.
making
Why-
a
they
decision.
always
It's a
think that.
dictatorship.
So it's not a dictatorship. It's not Vanessa.
I've been
So-
with the brand for a long time, so I think people look at it that way, but it's definitely a lot of staff meetings. We talk to everybody that we can. If I cross paths with you between then, I'd ask you who you think. I think the research is pretty diligent. And then I think what a lot of people leave out is there's a lot of sides to being a star. Business sides, things that we get to see that other people don't get to see, attitudes, behaviors, stats, business
Controversy?
people, controversy. A lot of things go into what that path is going to be. And we take a lot of that in consideration. We take it very seriously in that capacity.
So controversy hurts, you would say, because
Controversy works both ways. It depends on your controversy. Go
Tekashi
for
didn't
it.
make it onto this list.
Why didn't you can have controversy? I don't know if it's always the best controversy. I think he's got a lot of activities now, and got a word that I forgot that I had. But there's a lot of energy around him that I don't think is the most positive. And I don't know. I mean, if you're banned from certain shows or certain venues, or you can't really get shows in certain cities, or you're having a problem maybe picking up a sponsorship or getting people to do guest appearances with you, or different things like that, that might hinder you being a star.
So explain. Some people don't know the freshman cover. who's on the freshman cover? You say that the next star is on the freshman
We're trying
cover.
to predict the future, right? So
So
we're
it's
trying
not
to predict.
just about the music. It's about who can be a star based
Totally.
on criteria.
I mean, that's a big part with Block Boy JB. He is so personable, so friendly, so walk in a room and make you want to hang out with him, make you probably want to record with him, make you maybe want to invest your money in him. There's a lot of things there that sold us on Block Boy because of that.
And he's very active when he performs.
Very
He's-
active, very energetic, very cool to talk to. Everything about it when he came into the meeting was like, this guy's got star power. You know, and you can meet other ones where they're way more laid back, and you're going to say, well, what's going to give you that oomph that's going to make you from a working class rapper, you know, a regular rapper that's got a certain grind that stays kind of at a same level, to kind of taking it up to another notch or another level, as corny as that cliche is.
So what didn't you see in 6ix9ine? Because he has numerous records on the Billboard. The kids follow him. He has huge records in the club. So what didn't you see that was like, or what didn't you guys see that said, okay, he should be on this cover?
I'll go. I think that there's a lot of things that are negative around him, and I think that could turn people away from wanting to get too close to you to take you to that next level and invest in you. If you can't perform at certain venues, or if you're having problems in certain cities, or instigating in certain ways, you might not be able to develop the relationships, whether they be friend-wise, business-wise, that can take you to that next spot. So the question for us was, what's going to happen in a year from now?
No
and every
casualties,
conversation, right, exactly. Every conversation we had with a lot of people that we took very seriously were concerned with, where would he be in another year? So it's about what's going on now, and sometimes you have to pick the person that's hot right now, or you have to look at, do you want to bring that around? And do you want to co-sign that? Because anybody that's on the cover becomes an editorial co-sign. And we've gotten a lot of controversy with XXX. But when you look at XXX's story, one, he hasn't been found guilty. Two, when he went up for People's Champ or to win the 10th spot last year, we didn't know nearly as much about his case that's come out since then. So there's been a lot of a different story. When you look at a Famous Dex or an NBA Youngboy, you have two guys who beat their girlfriends up on camera. And you have to take that in consideration, is what is that going to do for their business? We really liked Dex. He came up and he spoke to us. He told us he apologized for the video he made. We had a nice conversation. He did go in on us. But at the same time, he didn't have a huge year since then. And there's got to be something that happened. And the conversation with us was he understood that he did wrong. So there is a problem there that when you have activities like that, especially that are caught on camera where you can't really deny it, I think there's an element of that can hold you back in business.
So music,
because people don't want to get next to that. And we're not doing, XXL's never been about picking, this is the most credible lyrical cover possible. That's a whole other cover that we could discuss if you guys really supported that.
Right.
But that's not really what hip hop's totally about. So it's a big reflection of what's going on in hip hop with the JIDs and the other guys in there and the YBN Namirs and things like that have a lyrical side to them. And so we look at all of that. You know?
Do you have a
So music
conversation
doesn't
with-
really matter.
Music definitely plays a role,
She's
without
saying
a
that's not
doubt.
the only thing.
Right.
It's not the only thing that makes you a star. I mean, I could ask you how many people are stars right now where the music didn't matter, but they're stars. So, you know, we're in the business for XXL, for putting people on the cover as who's going to be a next star.
Now, what about Lil Baby?
Little Baby, we really liked. I think his buzz blew up since he put an album out a lot more, and that's one of the things with timing with XXL of when you're putting the cover out. We shoot in April. We come out in June. You know, there's a production element there. I don't think the buzz was as big before the project. Also, I think he had more of a laid-back personality. So if I compare him to a Block Boy JB on kind of more of a street vibe, Block Boy comes in and he makes you want to be cool with him. He makes
to be
you
honest,
want
the first time we
invest with him. He makes you want to hang out with him.
See, but you know,
the first time
yeah.
we interviewed Little Baby, he himself said that he wasn't even all the way into being an artist yet, and that changed.
That's
a lot
what we get when they come up there.
percentage-wise.
Yeah.
He
See,
said
the
that
only thing with
himself.
attitude sometimes is like, you know, when Nas first came out, Nas was somebody that looked like he was always selling drugs. Like he never spoke, he never talked. But then you had Ludacris that was very animated. But that doesn't mean Nas is not going to be a star. You know what I mean? Because he's quiet and doesn't really speak.
Right.
That's
So
just
there's
his
a JID
personality.
for you.
You know what I mean?
You know, we try to cover different bases of it. So that's why there's different people like that. That's why there's a Wi-Fi. That's why we're trying to cover different bases. It's not all about that. It is about, you know, also what's the investment of the people behind you? What's the movement you have? What's the label behind you? What's that situation? Are you on a label with 3 or 4 different people that are new artists that you're going to have to compete with right now? It's all of those elements of
Because
it.
Lil Baby has, you know, he has QC behind him. So it seems like it, It would be a push. Now, what about T Grizzly?
Yeah, but we also had Stefan and Trippe who had QC behind him. So now you have a guy who's competing on a label with 3 different new artists that we have to keep in
think
mind.
Baby
Plus
bigger than
Migos
Stefan? No disrespect to
and Yachty.
Stefan.
Stefan Don had a couple of.
But
Well, she had a
Baby
really
is
big song too.
huge.
I think
that was more crossover. Her
Yeah,
song
but
was-
I think crossover counts for something.
Yeah.
I think international following is interesting. I think that there's a place Stefan can definitely go. Can it be bigger than Little Baby? Possibly.
I think it was the timing of
Different
that too,
lanes,
because
too.
Stefan Don, her song was a lot bigger earlier. And with Little Baby,
Commercially.
That's My Dog was my joint and everything. But
they love Baby in Atlanta. They
But
love
I
him in
also
the- they love him in
understand
the
what
South.
Vanessa's
Heavy.
saying when Little Baby comes up here himself and says he wasn't necessarily trying to be an artist, and he, now is 90% in it, but before he was only.
When you came up, if
Yeah.
that's the conversation you have at the time, it confuses you, Now, he didn't say that to us, but there was a very
He did say
laid
that up
back.
here.
And there we go.
And I asked him about that. I said in the first interview when you came up here, you didn't seem like you really wanted to be an artist. He was like, I know, right? I was just thinking about that. So it does seem like he grew a lot in a couple of months because he did put out a lot of music pretty quickly.
And you get confidence with the release of an album as well, yeah.
Now, what about T Grizzly?
T Grizzly felt late. It felt
Yeah.
like it was last year. I mean, definitely it came up in conversation, but it felt like we would look late with T Grizzly. That's
Now,
really
Little Skies
the
was
overall
supposed
feeling.
to be on it and accepted and then didn't show up.
So the way it worked was Little Skies, we asked them to be, for the 10th spot, usually what we had traditionally done was whoever got the most votes that wasn't already picked. But for the past couple of years, we noticed that the number 1 or the 10th spot was going to people we hadn't picked. So we said, 10th spot's going to go to whoever gets the most votes no matter what, even if we pick them or not, as long as that person's represented. We'd asked Little Skies to be a freshman beforehand, not knowing he would win. He agreed. He said, I can't believe it. I actually thought it was a year early. I wouldn't get it this year. Everything was locked in place. He did a pitch video. And he then won the 10th spot. And we were going to tell him and do kind of a big thing in the magazine of that he got the most votes and all of that. And 3 days before the shoot, he didn't know he was a 10th spot winner. But 3 days before the shoot, they told us they couldn't get in touch with him. They didn't think he wanted to come. They're not sure. They don't really know. And so then we hit him up. We said he won the 10th spot. He's going to let the fans down also. He got the most votes. That's the number 1 person that they voted in. And that didn't convince him. And he just didn't show up. And nobody was put in his place. And that's why there's 9 on the cover right now. And it's not true that it's rigged. And it's not true that and whatever he said was not true. A lot of the stuff that's out there is not true that you get from a lot of the personalities that are there. And anybody has the ability to reach us to us and ask us for an interview.
Right.
But we see a lot of reporting or people saying things that are fact that are not fact. Little Baby did not get the most votes in the 10th spot, even though she said she did. And we didn't pick her. That's it. She didn't get them. Little Skies
Bad
got
Baby.
the most votes. Sorry, Bad Baby.
Oh, you called
I
her
apologize.
Baby,
No,
right?
that was
Little
totally.
Baby.
No, it's totally my bad. Bad Baby did not get the most votes. She said she did. I don't know where that information was ever
She just wanted it to
released.
go viral.
So I think you have to keep that in mind with things. Is that where is the source of the information coming, and how much is it being fact checked, and how much are people really talking about what they know versus saying whatever they can say to get traffic
I
themselves.
thought you just took a jab at the source.
No, that's funny though, because after I said it, I did think it, and I was like, nobody's gonna think that way. It's 2018, so yeah.
And we mentioned Moneybag Yo a little bit. Moneybag Yo, what was the thing with
Went
Moneybag?
Block Boy JB. We felt Memphis. That's
On
what
the
we
same
meant.
lane,
Yeah.
yeah.
Let JFK answer. Sorry.
Yeah, like we feel like it was sort of the same street, Memphis lane, and Black Boy's a little younger. He has a dance. He's like I said, personable. So yeah, we just went that direction.
And what about Tokyo Jets?
I like Tokyo. I liked her a lot. She came up with T.I., had a really good energy,
Felt early.
good music. It just felt a little early.
And Gunna?
Felt early also, and I think his buzz is, I think that becomes, and not to make a defense, but I think what happens is we're in production, we've already picked the list, and someone starts buzzing, and you can't go and scoop them at a certain time. It gets, so I think his buzz started to grow a little bit after we started picking as well. I don't know.
Did you have a conversation with Young Boy?
We had a conversation with Young Boy, but once we saw what happened on the tape, we felt like that was a hindrance. I mean, going back to before, I think there's a big problem with anybody abusing a woman on a videotape. Is definitely when you see it, so there's even no element of denial where we can give you the benefit of the doubt. And that's not something that we
Now,
felt
you said
is
with the
going to...
famous Dex situation, you guys spoke. He was sorry for what happened. He understood that he was wrong. Because it does seem like it's been an ongoing issue. just in general with men, you know, and domestic violence towards women.
I think hip hop's still trying to figure out how to deal with it
And
how
I
to
think it is
respond to it.
important when
And
people-
hip hop media, every outlet of it, you know, and Spotify and streaming service. I think everybody's trying to figure out how to deal with all of this kind of new energy, and no one really knows exactly what the answer is yet.
But so for a famous Dex, when he says, okay, I know what I did was wrong, it would never happen again, whatever, that's somebody that you would take into consideration because...
I mean, we
he's
had to have a
acknowledged.
conversation. You know, Kevin Lyles reached out. Will you sit
He
with him?
reached out
Will
to
you
me
talk
too.
to him? Right? So of course we sit with everybody of you. You know, I mean, unless there's a certain element of like complete beef, which I can't even think of as an example that we would have with you. If you don't want to come up and play anything for us, that's totally fine. We're not going to stop covering you. We're not going to stop giving you support. We've never withheld anything for that reason. That's totally cool. I forgot what you just said.
I was saying if he's truly genuinely...
If he's truly genuine,
And you can
now
see-
the question is what's genuine about it? What can defend the pick, right? If we're going to support it, what has he done specifically that shows that he has grown from this or changed from it, right? In addition to what's his momentum, how much has he lost, how much does he have to build up again? You know, where the buzz is at, has anybody come and gotten more popular since then? So there's a few elements there. I mean, and also we're in uncharted territory. We haven't really had to deal with these types of situations in the past with freshmen, you know?
You know, what about Jay Critch? I mean, he recently put fuck XXL, but I'm just curious.
It's fuck XXL when you don't get it, right? You know, I mean, and then if it's, and you can say fuck XXL before if you want, we're still going to cover you. You know, I mean, that's just it. We'll still support you when you have a project coming out. We'll still interview you. We felt it was too early for New York. I mean, you're going to talk about what's going on in New York. It's more Tekashi right now or 6ix9ine right now than it is Jay Critch. But we didn't want to pick Tekashi, so
What about
doesn't mean we have to
Casanova?
pick Jay Critch. Casanova comes up in the conversation, but I don't know if he's going to go to that next level. We have to kind of see.
You know,
doesn't feel totally like that at the moment, but he's totally personable. He's a great guy, but now you have to have the music connect to the same way and go to the next level.
Only thing that bothers me a little bit with some of these kids and what they're doing is there's no leniency. You know, when we did some of the things, they weren't social media to hold us for it forever. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I feel like that's hurting a lot of these kids because these kids is 18. NBA YoungBoy, how old is he?
He's 18 now,
He's
and-
18
yeah.
and he's made a lot of mistakes. But you know, there is nobody to say, okay, you made these mistakes. And now it's kind of like these mistakes are stuck with me forever.
That's
because
not
of
true.
social
You have a
media,
record
you know?
label. You have a family. You do have people around
Record label
you.
don't care about that.
You
They
know,
care about money.
But
We know
but
that.
besides that, then you have to figure out how to get people around you. You do have a family that's responsible with you. You know, not for NBA YoungBoy specifically, for anybody. You know, I mean, you got to understand what you lost sometimes because what you did. You know, I mean,
And understand why it's really fucked up. Like
And why it is messed
I had
up, you know?
an opportunity to sit down with YoungBoy and really have a great conversation with him. And, you know, me, myself, watching that tape, I was like, oh, yeah, he's canceled. Like, when I first saw it.
Right.
But when I did have a chance to have a conversation with him and understand just everything about him, like just how he was raised, his environment, things that happened, how he feels like he doesn't have the best influences around him, what he's seen and witnessed in his own life, and then knowing like, okay, you know, this is not the way you're supposed to behave.
But they don't get those opportunities
Right,
sometimes
so-
because
people
they're
don't
thrown
understand
into
that.
stardom immediately, right?
Right.
They're thrown into stardom like you used to. Angela and I were just saying before. You used to have a situation where the artist was buzzing, they signed, you built up their buzz, you got ready for the album, they came out, they blew up. Now they're big by the time they signed. They're big early on. They don't have the opportunity for any of that.
Right.
If we look at it any as traditional as it was back in the day at Nas time, as 5 years ago, as anything, it's changing at such a drastic speed. We just see it in how we look at freshmen, how they blow up, what happens, their stories. It's a whole different marketplace every year.
And then you see Khalees now coming forward and saying that Nas was abusive toward her as well.
And so now hip hop has to decide how they want to
Right.
respond to that, and Fabulous and all the different things.
Right.
You know, our job is to document that. You know, so
And I think it's also
yeah.
our job to figure out what do we do to make sure that we're educating people and making sure that we actually make a change in, you know,
Yeah.
what goes on, because it seems like this is just too common of an occurrence. You know, so what's wrong?
And that's a really good point too, because I mean, people are quick to say like they're canceled, and that sort of I feel like is a little bit dismissive and like not having the conversation.
You can't
that needs to be
cancel him.
had.
I mean, in some instances, like R. Kelly, you could cancel R. Kelly with the amount of
Well,
stuff
like R.
that he's
Kelly
doing.
said,
But we
he
didn't
already
cancel
done-
famous deaths.
continuous.
You know, like we gave him the opportunity to come up and talk to us and talk about everything that
But
happened.
he's a good kid.
And so, you know, and he had to learn what he did wrong and why it's wrong and get on the other side of that and be able to be comfortable with whoever, you know, and he said, I've since had a child with that woman.
Right.
You know, so then their personal life, it's a whole different thing.
Absolutely.
So we did give him the benefit of the doubt, come up and let's talk to you and we're not going to hold it against you, that we wouldn't even sit with you and see how you changed or what you did in the last year.
Just feel hard sometimes for us being judge and jury, because I mean, I could just imagine, or you too, Vanessa, could you imagine if there was social media around back with some of the stuff that we've done back in the day? You know what I mean? I don't think we.
She said no.
I don't think we would be here. You know what I mean? But you know, these kids.
You
they
watch
get a
the
raw
social
deal,
media
you know?
and you're like, don't do that, don't do that, don't do
Right.
that.
Because
Oh my
we've
God,
been
you
through
did
it.
that. Take that down. Take that down. Don't do it. No. Oh
Exactly.
yeah. Oh, right about this. You know, I mean, the whole thing. But it's or to the point that it's exhausting. I mean, even with 6ix9ine, you're like, I can't even keep up with what's going
Right.
on in the Instagram.
And he wants you to see this.
Yeah, and he wants you to see it. So
Because
what
he
are
thinks
you
it's
not
cool.
seeing?
He
You know,
thinks it's cool.
Yeah.
You know? What about Rich the Kid and Joyner Lucas?
Joyner Lucas chose not to be a part of anything freshman. He didn't come up and play any music. We're not going to not cover Joyner because of that. But he made a decision early on, and we didn't speak to him. That's the feedback we got from the label. So that's cool.
And Rich the Kid's been wanting to do this for a minute.
So the Rich the Kid story is that Rich the Kid wanted to do it for a minute. We felt it was a little late on him. We didn't even put him up for nominating for the 10th spot. So the day of the shoot, I'll tell the story. The day of the shoot.
He showed up.
Well, he showed up. Well, back it up. So we had 9, and we really held out because we really wanted Skies to come. I'm like, how is this kid not coming? Like, it's, you know, she's not coming for the
Great
fans. Like,
opportunity, right,
It's
yeah.
great. Like,
Right.
how did you come up here and tell us to our face and be excited about it and play music? So I didn't want to give it up. I didn't want to put someone else in the spot. And then we hear from Perp that Pump's on his way with Rich the Kid to the shoot. So we're like, so Rich the Kid's coming to the shoot, and we're cool with Rich. So we're like, okay, so Rich is coming to the shoot, and then we're talking, and we're like, well, we have an open spot now. Maybe we just put him in there because everyone's saying, where's Rich the Kid? Like, he was missing for the day, and people will understand. And we've got this, you know, so he comes to the shoot, and he said, I hit him up, and the label hits him up, and we talk, and he says he's on his way, and he comes to the shoot, and then he's kind of acting a little bit cold, and I'm like, okay, something's up because he's not usually that cold. Then he comes over with his manager, and he says, I'll only do the shoot if I can bring Jay Critch. Mind you, it's already a few hours into the shoot. Everyone's already doing stuff. Everything's going. So we're like, okay, we're not doing that. You know, we didn't offer it for Jay Critch and you to come in. It's not how it works. If you want to come in, he says, okay, well, I'll only do it if I can sit on a throne and you can have all the freshmen sit around me. And I said, no, we're not going to do that,
That would be
either.
so crazy.
Right, we're not going to do that either. And okay. And he said, well, I'll do it if you let me wear a crown. And I said, well, and we're in the hallway and everyone's walking around us all the time. And I said, you could wear a crown if you want, but you have to defend why you're wearing the crown. Just like French Montana defended that he wore a bear. Like, it's your costume, it's your whatever. And he said, well, I don't even have shoes. And I said, well, you want to do it or not? And he said, yes, I'll do it. So I ran off to go put a dressing room together for him. And then he left and walked out of the place.
What?
So he was never a 10 spot nominee. He wasn't the replacement for Skies in the way that we were going to say he had more votes. We were going to always explain what happened. He's been fam, so we like, okay, he's coming. That's interesting. We'll explain everything. We'll put him
But
as part
that's
of
weird
it.
that he would have made it onto the cover because he showed up with.
Yeah, people would definitely say like he wasn't nominated.
He wasn't
there,
nominated,
then all
but
of a
we'd
sudden he
explain
showed up.
it. I mean, that was one that we got a lot of people saying, hey, where's Rich the Kid? Where's Rich the Kid?
They
Where's
have
Rich
new
the
freezer
Kid?
and plug walk.
You know,
He
so
had a
we're
good
like,
year.
okay, we had a
Yeah.
good year. So, you know, and if he wants to do it, and he said he wanted to do it, and then that's how it unfolded. So he walked out. Nobody ever said he was the replacement for Skies, that he won the most votes. And then the next thing you know, Skies has got a video saying that it's rigged, and So Skies was always the 10th spot winner. That's always how it was going to unfold. We're never going to say that Rich the Kid was, because he wasn't even.
I wouldn't have been mad at Cash Doll.
Okay.
I like Cash. You guys like Cash Doll?
It felt early. It felt
Yeah.
early, yeah.
Well,
Just
you're
so
gonna
you know,
get
we
a
trying to-
lot of of hate
man.
on this one, well, you always do, so you don't care.
Yeah,
I mean, you
do
can
it.
hate
for
all
it.
you, but but also you're going to be mad at 10 new people getting the opportunity to be on the cover of a magazine, getting exposure everywhere so they can be listened to and heard by people who've never heard of them before. You're all going to come away and say, I didn't know this person, I didn't know that person. The most common thing I see is, I only know 2 of these people. Class is trash. Okay, so go
All the
listen to the
time.
other 8. You know, so I get the
Was there
element
anybody
of
on
hate,
this list
but
that you were against?
Yeah, there's some of them I'm not fans of, that I'm not the biggest fan of, but there's a staff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a
Like,
staff
who would you
of
say
people.
personally for you guys that you weren't the biggest?
Oh, you're not getting me in trouble like that. I got enough heat. I'm not going to start throwing under the bus.
JFK,
you know?
let me throw it to you.
I can give you some people that were my personal favorites that didn't make it.
Okay. I see. I like how you remixed it.
You know, we flip that on.
Rich the Kid, you want to sit on the throne too?
I liked let me see. I do like Lil Baby.
Mm-hmm.
I do
I
like
think Lil Baby should have made it.
in a lyricist lane. I do like. I'm a fan of IDK. And yeah, I think for the most part, the people that were there though, I feel like really do deserve it.
I'm going to back everyone on there. Now,
Yeah.
there's some that not are my favorite choices over others, and you do look at it and you say, okay, you pick some of them in February, March. You hope they made different moves by the time you got to the cover and by the time it came out. You wish that they did this instead of that.
Right.
But I'm going to support everything we have because that's what you're supposed to do when you do things like this. But definitely you sit there and you say, I wish I would have went this way and that way in your personal, but at the same time, if the staff feels passionately about stuff, that's a huge part of the whole thing.
Right.
So the concerts are still happening as well.
Concerts are July 11th in New York and July 19th in LA.
Mm-hmm.
So at the Terminal 5 this year.
And everybody's going to make it,
As far as I know.
as far as you know. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we find everything out the day of, the day
Right.
before. That's how it works, 1, 2, 3 days before for everything.
Gotcha.
Hopefully we get a 1, 2, 3 day heads up, but it could be, so they're set times now and so didn't happen.
All right. Well,
Okay.
Thank
And
you,
then
guys.
off
Oh,
the
I'm sorry.
topic of this cover, what do you guys think about Nicki Minaj's new music? And are you excited for her album to come out?
I love Nicki. I'm excited. I think she's had a tremendous, interesting break in between the last project and this project.
She said it should be her best project because it's her first time being single in so long.
Wow. Yeah.
If that's what makes it the best project, good. I mean, I just hope it's the best project because she's hungry enough to give it to us after all the different ones,
I like the new energy of Chun-Li and Barbie Tings. Rich X is cool as well. But yeah, I'm interested to see like the topics she talks about. I mean, there's a lot that's happened since the Pink Print. So
hope she opens up.
I love her. I
Yeah,
hope she opens
definitely.
up, but
Hope
I
she
love
opens
her.
up. I don't think we've seen that side of Nicki. I want her to talk. I mean, I think the best artist when it's Jay or when it's Nas or whoever it is, Kendrick. I want to see her open up and talk about life, about
Right.
the trials and tribulations and even
Relationships
her
and-
relationships, her brother, her family. Like
I mean, all of that is
open up,
huge stuff
you know?
that this woman's dealt with, and it's
Absolutely.
and it's been used against her when it then shouldn't be in a lot of ways, and we haven't taken in consideration a lot of the stuff that she's dealt with and the position that she's in, where you can take shots at the throne left and right. I think her rollout so far has been pretty great, from the interview that she did already and how they rolled it out with the music and everything. I think it's some top-notch, work with PR and team of how they're doing everything. Curious to see what the music sounds like. But as
Absolutely.
far as the rollouts going and the plan and the touring and her energy, and I think she's been so far pretty honest in a lot of her answers.
What should be on the cover? XXL for the album?
We will see.
Working on it? And what about Kanye's new music? I'm just curious.
Wyoming's beautiful.
I
I'm
saw
very
you say
excited
that.
about it.
Yeah, I went to
I was
Wyoming,
like,
you know.
I have a lot of controversy. I don't know what to make of Kanye, right? I mean, you want to get with him, then you're weird with the politics. Then he says things that you think are brilliant. Then the music comes out, and it's amazing. Then you hear a line, and you're like, why did he say that? So it's kind of all of. Then you see these pictures of the clothing, you're like, I don't know what I'm supposed to focus on. But there's some beauty in him going to Wyoming and making a project and finding the beauty within that place and being inspired by it and getting people to come out and want to share it with them, whatever production value it was. And there's video and so. There's something in him that we have to look at, I think, that even to go there and want us to experience that and be changed as a person with that is like the silver lining to me in a lot of ways with him. And then the music, you all with Kanye, as good as the music is, we kind of forget about all the other stuff a lot.
So will you be
if you're a
moving
hardcore hip hop fan.
Will you be moving the XXL office to Wyoming?
Yes. Yes. No, it was
Hip-hop.
everybody who went out there that I spoke to came back and was like, I want to go on another
I've
trip.
never seen
I want to go
Vanessa
out
so
there.
amazed. So she was like, Wyoming is beautiful.
I was
Twitter.
like, we're leaving. There's rainbows everywhere. I was like, this is amazing. There's wild animal on the road. Yeah.
He glamored you.
All right.
He glamored us with the least glamorous,
Absolutely.
It was but with Wyoming, I mean, went to a country bar and it was bizarre.
Well, you rappers are banned now from doing any events at that place in Wyoming. Just
Yeah.
so you know, moving forward, it's over.
Did they say that?
Yeah.
We'll find
Yep.
another place.
The country bar or the?
Wherever
I
they
heard
have
it.
their
I heard it. Yeah.
All right. Well, we appreciate you guys for joining us.
We appreciate
doubt.
you as
Thank
usual
you.
for having us. Thank you,
Vanessa
and thank you to
Statten.
all the fans and
JFK.
all the hip hop
JFK.
fans and everyone who supports
All right. Double XL.
and the rappers.
It's the Breakfast Club. Good morning.